Welcome to Empowered Kids TV and welcome back to Village Talk. I'm so excited to have you here. You're here because you know that every family has the potential to be great and you're willing to push the boundaries of your mindset so that you can create the family of your dreams. Today, we welcome back to the village one of our amazing coaches, Erin Taylor. Erin is a powerful and compassionate coach who is devoted to helping stressed, overwhelmed parents and struggles with disrespect, not listening, discipline, social media, and more. Erin can help you sift through the noise and clutter so that you can get in touch with your own inner compass, which truly is the best guide for your parenting journey. Her life experience, coupled with parenting certification, allows Erin to support families to move through the pain of life circumstances so they can thrive because of them. You can find out more about Erin and her amazing work at erin-taylor.com. Erin, welcome back to the village.
Thank you, Nicole. It's so great to be here with you and your community.
I'm going to dive right into today's question. And today's question is, it's a bit of a tough one and it comes from Susie. Susie writes, after my 20-week scan, I was told that my baby had several abnormalities detected and that I would need to prepare to give birth to a sleeping baby. I recently gave birth to him. He was just perfect, but was sleeping. This was the most difficult thing I have ever done, but you do find the inner strength. It seems that after a few days after, I just can't stop crying and feeling guilty. Any advice on how to get through the pain and feelings of emptiness? And how do I explain what is happening to my 5-year-old daughter? That's just heart-wrenching.
It is heart-wrenching, and I find it interesting that that question comes up in today's conversation with you and I, because I too am a bereaved parent, and I lost my daughter. She died of a heart defect when she was 24 days old. And so I can completely understand where Susie's coming from. And the first thing I would say, as far as crying uncontrollably, I cried so much in those early days, weeks, and months that I thought for sure that my tear ducts were going to just dry out. There was just no possible way there was one more drop of liquid left in my eyes. Just couldn't be. But our bodies are amazing, and those tears just keep cleansing the pain. No matter how many tears have to be shed, there's still more for us when we need them. And so I think that shedding tears is a beautiful way and an important way to move through that agonizing loss and that grief, especially in the early days, but really any time, because the pain is excruciating and it's at times unbearable. And so I applaud her for crying a river of tears because it's absolutely necessary. And in terms of how to get through those early days, I think it's really important to try to find some way to remember her child. And my husband and I, we actually went to a pretty extreme length in that we created a foundation, a charity in our daughter's memory. And we ran it for 12 years where we gave scholarships to heart kids going to college, and we sent younger heart kids to a special camp each summer. And so that was the way that we kept her memory alive. And in those early days, it was like a lifeline for us, because when the pain felt like it was too much to bear, we knew we had this kind of living, breathing memorial to her, so we could pour all of our grief and our pain into working on that and growing it and growing the awareness of it and getting more people involved. So that was a terrific way to channel those feelings, that intense emotion. But a person doesn't even have to go to that length, because that's obviously a pretty significant thing, and we did it for 12 years. But I know other parents who have planted a tree in their child's memory, or built a bench at a local park and planted a tree where they can go, and there's a little plaque on the bench. So it's a special place where they can go to remember their child, and the general public gets to enjoy the tree and the bench or the flowers or what have you. I think bringing life, creating life, and nourishing life is a great way to heal the pain of the grief of loss in that way.
I love that. I love that. And that for me is an amazing thing. And I think one of the things that you're talking about is moving from a space that feels so unbearably painful that sometimes you think you can't breathe, to being able to somehow get your mind to focus on doing something good for someone else. And I think there's power in that in terms of helping us heal.
Mm-hmm. There absolutely is. And it's really about pulling yourself out of the darkest corners of your life in that moment and bringing yourself into the light. Whenever you're helping someone or nurturing someone or something, planting a tree, taking care of an animal, whenever you're bringing life, creating life, or nurturing life, it's bringing your existence out into the light. And that's really important.
That's
So
beautiful.
I think there's a mix of allowing the pain,
Yes.
because if you run from it, it will absolutely run you over and squash you. It will crush you. So you can't run from it. You can't medicate it. You can't drink it away or smoke it away. You can't do any of that. You cannot hide from it. It will find you. So you have to allow the feelings, and then you have to bring some healing to yourself. And then in terms of how to tell her child, that's such a hard thing, because when our daughter died, she was the oldest. So even though it was crushing for us to lose her, and then crushing because the house was empty without her, I was completely able to focus on my grief and whatever I needed each day. And each day when I woke up, it was a different thing that I needed. And I just listened. I tried to listen really closely to what I needed in that moment. But when you have a child at home, especially a young one like that, it's even harder because you have to put your grief on hold at times to be front and center for your living child. And so that is an added challenge
Yes.
to Susie. But one of the things I would encourage is to move away from using the word sleeping when we refer to a child having died or anyone having died. Because when we tell a child that someone went to sleep but they actually died, then that can give the child terror about going to sleep at night. So I think it's really important to use the correct terminology, that the child died, that there were some medical problems that prevented the baby from being able to live and be born into the world, and that everyone's really, really sad, and that it's okay to cry, and mommy's crying and daddy's crying and you're crying, and we'll get through this together, and we're always going to remember the baby, and we're going to give each other extra hugs and spend extra time together. Just kind of
Yes.
simplistic things like that, that powerful, but
Yes.
simplistic in the language, because at 5, they understand things on a concrete level. You have to be very concrete with them.
And very literal, which is why I like the idea of moving away from the word sleeping, because it can instill so
Mm-hmm.
much fear in a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to add that fear, that uncontrollable fear, to the grief that you're already dealing with. That's just too much.
What can Susie do as a family to add some nurturing while they go through this process of healing?
I think that scaling back drastically on the schedules is crucially important. So turning down social invitations until they feel ready. taking time off from work if she works, allowing the 5-year-old to stay home from school for a few days, getting in touch with the school. I'm sure Susie already did that, but getting in touch with the school to let the school know what happened and let the guidance counselors and the teacher know so that they can wrap around the 5-year-old when the 5-year-old comes back to school. A lot of times when a loss like that happens, whether it's a sibling or a parent or something like that, the teacher will have the class make little cards or, we're thinking of you cards. That's a sweet way for classmates to offer their support and try to help their little friend. And then just spending time together, making sure that the topic of the child and the death and the pain and the grief is not off limits. The 5-year-old has to know that it's okay to talk about it, whether it's today, next week, or 5 years from now. It is okay to talk about it.
Okay. Perfect. There are a lot. This is such a heavy and a sad topic, but I think we've given some tips that Susie can take away, and I'd just like to wrap that up for her. The first thing was to remember that tears is really a way of helping to cleanse the pain. So be open to them and let them flow for as long as they need to, whenever they need to. Remember, find ways to remember her child. Find ways to build some sort of creative remembrance, whether it's planting a tree, we talked about putting a bench in a park, anything that's life-giving or life-nurturing. Allow the pain to bring healing. So just kind of step into the pain. Don't try to numb the pain or to move away from the pain. And I love the fact that when we were going through this, you brought stuff up that we use to numb the pain. So we use alcohol, we use drugs, we use food. And it's important,
oh yes,
to kind of pull all those things out, because I think you are right. When you do try to hide from it, it finds a way to find you. Move away from using the language that's misleading when describing what has happened to a 5-year-old. So move away from using the word sleeping. Be open and honest in the discussion, but be simplistic, and recognize that at 5 years old, kids take words literally. So we want to use words that really provides a space that feels safe while we're describing what has happened. Pull back on the scheduling. Give yourself that space to heal. Take time off from social events. Take time off from work and even from school. And then reach out to school to see if we can get some added support for the 5-year-old when she does get back into school. And spend time together, reminding each other that the topic is never off limits. Is there anything else you'd like to add for Susie, Erin?
There are actually 2 other things I wanted to add.
Yes.
There is an international support group for bereaved parents, grandparents, and siblings, and it's called The Compassionate Friends. And their website is www.thecompassionatefriends.org. And that is a tremendously wonderful support group that I found and joined right away. And there are chapters all over the world. Mine met monthly, and I think most of them do. So I went to a couple of meetings early on when I really needed it. And then once I didn't feel like I needed it anymore, I didn't go back. So that is a wonderful organization. And then the other thing I just wanted to show Susie, or to be for Susie, is a beacon of hope. This is a terrible time in her life. When you lose a child, it feels like there's nothing worse on this planet that you could experience. And I'm not sure that there is anything worse, because it's so brutally awful. But I want to be a beacon of hope for her and anyone else who has suffered this kind of loss, because my daughter completely shaped my life and transformed my life moving forward. I always was an optimistic person, and I liked to look on the bright side of life, but losing her death caused me to go very deeply spiritual
Mm,
and deep into the mysteries of life.
mm,
And really when you're in the worst pain of it all, it gives you a window into that raw pain gives you a window into the raw beauty that life really truly is.
mm.
And my daughter would be 18 now, and I am here to tell you that my life is wonderful. I am delightfully happy. I'm contented. I have 3 other beautiful, healthy children. I have a wonderful marriage. Our marriage got stronger through that experience because we communicated extremely well, and that was very important. And as much as I would always prefer for my daughter to be here, I'm so grateful for the way she changed my life. My life is so much richer because she was here. And so I just want to end on that note that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. As painful and dark as it is right now, it will get better if you just take the steps to allow the pain, sit with the pain, and heal the pain.
Thank you so much for that, Erin. That's amazing. And I think wise words to end this episode. So I want to thank you for joining us today on The Village, for helping us tackle this very deep and difficult conversation and bringing light to it. Thanks again. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Village Talk. Now remember, it still takes a village. So if you found value in this episode, be sure to like it and share it with your family and friends. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that bell icon so that we can notify you of our upcoming episodes. Remember, as we always say in this village, you're just one connection away. Until next time, empowerers, with love and gratitude from all of us at Empowered Kids TV.